welcome. My name is Mike Musallam. I'm very grateful for this opportunity. My path in this industry, in the film and TV industry, has had many twists and turns and was nothing, it was anything but traditional. But what I found so crucial with every twist and every turn was that my greatest resource and weapon was my own authentic voice and the people or the tribe who would encourage me to share it as often as I could. And that is the focus of what I'd like to talk about today. And something I encourage you all to do, which is find your voice and find your tribe. I don't know, Erica, are you sharing the presentation? Is it up somewhere?
We are ready to share, Mike.
Yep, we
so
can.
With your instructions, we will share.
Please, we can put the first slide up.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful, thank you. So as I said, that is what we're here to talk about today. We can go to the next slide, please. My production company, Mike Musallam Productions, focuses on and strives to develop and create and produce unique and authentic stories that deal with the complex intersectionality of identities. And rather than talk about that, I figured I would take a few minutes and show you some of my work. And as this evening or morning for you, I believe, progresses, we'll talk about some of those works specifically and more in depth. So we can play this first clip here.
الله دايما بسمع صلاة الأم وأنا بدي أولاد 100% عرب.
Okay, Mom, I can't even deal with A, your racism, and B, with how you think me and my future husband, sent by God because of your prayers, are going to have full-blooded Arab babies.
But the clear is blue, but it's not enough. It's not enough, not enough. Just another time I'm caught inside every open eye.
Going to the mosque is a little bit out of my element. I feel like in my life, a lot of times I have to do things to please my parents.
You'll meet me.
So you reveal your biggest secret to all your friends?
Yes.
Like praying in the closet?
If ever I try to push you away, you can just keep me there. So please say meet me halfway.
Tolerance, patience, not sitting in judgment. I mean, those are some of the fundamentals of Islam that I practice. And frankly, being gay has taught me to be a better Muslim.
You're so educated, but you're also so blind to the problems Islam creates.
There is no darker side of Islam.
Not the Islam you follow, but that doesn't invalidate Sam's experiences, his feelings, his fears.
I don't like it. I'm scared.
So I guess it's important to start with a little about me. I am from a town in Michigan called Dearborn, and we can go to the next slide. Michigan has the highest, Dearborn, Michigan has the highest concentration of Arabs outside of the Middle East, and most of those Arabs are Muslim like me. However, all of the stories that I saw on TV where there was an Arab and or a Muslim didn't look like me, didn't represent me. And at the time, a few years ago, I was working as a film commissioner. And what that means is that it was my job to bring films to the state of Michigan. And I met a producer, and she told me that TLC, the network, was looking for a companion piece to their hit series, Sister Wives. And I was able to pitch them a documentary series about my hometown of Dearborn, Michigan, that explored Arabs and or Muslims that I grew up with, where McDonald's served halal meat, where football games was where everyone went after Friday prayers, and where the street signs were both in English and in Arabic. Next slide, please. A real all-American Muslim life. And thus was born the TLC series, All-American Muslim, and we can play this clip.
The city of Dearborn, Michigan. Dearborn is a whole nother world.
Being in Dearborn has allowed us to practice our faith without losing our sense of American patriotism.
After 9/11, the environment was a bit more hostile.
They say we're Muslim, we're barbaric, or we're terrorists.
Towel heads, it got bad.
You don't just throw menus on a table and walk away.
Our community is complicated, and even within our own families, we don't always agree.
There is life outside of Dearborn.
So if I was a guy, it would be different.
A woman, she's not gonna handle a club.
I find it hard to deal with a lot of the criticism.
You have concerns with me converting to Islam?
Yes.
We live our lives like everybody else.
I've been in law enforcement for 19 years.
I don't require much. I like my country music.
The most important things are my family and coaching football.
You guys get to do this. So you fight till the end.
I really am American. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it.
So here was an opportunity for me to say to the world, the experience that you're watching on TV or the experience that the media is showing you doesn't at all reflect my experience. I am a first generation Arab American, Muslim American, and anytime there was any kind of Arab and or Muslim representation, it felt very foreign to me. Now, this series only ran for one season, but it opened so many doors and so many opportunities for me and a chance to tell a million other stories. Because what was very important about this series was that what I was hoping to do and what would continue to be a theme in my work far after it was that it was important that people understood that being Muslim and being Arab wasn't a monolith. There wasn't one way to be those things, but that depending on where you grew up, what your moral compass was, what your values were, what your socioeconomic status was, what your sexual orientation was, what your birth order was, all played into how you lived within those identities and leaning into identities and the intersectionality of those identities was really, really interesting to me. Here you had a docu-series that featured 5 families, all of whom had a varying degree of religiosity, a different kind of practice, and all called themselves Muslim. And that was okay. And it was important that the world got to see that. So the series only ran for one season, but it was the opportunity to tell many other stories. And so naturally, I moved to Los Angeles. Next slide, please. I quickly got a job as the head of studio development, where I was lucky enough to work on the shows seen here that you may or may not have watched, alongside many others. And what this job afforded me was the opportunity to work alongside line producers who taught me everything about physical production. And it was a great way to learn the art of producing, because when you are producing big, expensive, fast-paced television series and films, you have to learn to be nimble, you have to move fast. And I was able to translate so much of what these line producers were teaching me into the independent film world, where so much of my own content was sitting. One of the shows displayed here is HBO's Looking. And there I met the creator of that show, a gentleman by the name of Michael Lannon, who asked me a question that would change my life. Over coffee, and while researching characters for season 2 of his show, he asked me who best represented you, me, and my journey in film and television. And I'll be honest with you, I was stumped. I couldn't think of anyone because, if it isn't evident but at this point, I'm gay and I'm Muslim, and very comfortably, I live in the intersectionality of those identities. And typically, the gays don't really get down with God, and Muslims aren't really known for being the most LGBTQ plus friendly. And he said 2 simple words that set me down a path. He said, write it. And thus, I began writing a story. I didn't think that I was a writer. I never fancied myself to be a writer. I had directed, I had produced, I had been in a ton of stuff, but I had never sat down and written anything. And I went home that night and I started thinking about the story that I would like to tell, and Breaking Fast, the short, was born. Next slide, please. Breaking Fast is the story of Mo, a practicing Muslim, who meets Cal, an American guy in West Hollywood, at the onset of the month of Ramadan. And the short film takes place over the first night of Ramadan, and it just simply lives in that frame. That's all that it's about. And I think we should watch the trailer of the short, if you wouldn't mind playing the clip.
I got a new sensation.
To be honest, I feel like a bit of an outsider in this whole West Hollywood area.
What area of town do you live?
West Hollywood.
Out of the bluest sky, and
You're pretty Muslim though, right? I mean, it seems like you're practicing.
I was born gay and I love God.
it's been a long time. It's been a long time coming. Oh, I feel my heart beat a little bit faster when I see you walk through the door.
Easy, miss. I've got you. You've got me. Who's got you?
Just a little longer.
So this film, which is available online, played the festival circuit, and we were very, very fortunate that it got the attention of a lot of different audience members and allowed us the opportunity to continue exploring it. But what was clear to me, and something that I had mentioned earlier that I don't want any of us to forget, is that being Muslim, as I mentioned, is not a monolith. And being gay is certainly not a monolith. And when you put 100 gay Muslims in a room, you get 100 different life experiences. And that's key. The key to telling a universal story is leaning into the very specifics of what makes your story yours. But my eyes at this point had been open to storytelling, and I was approached about telling another Muslim story with an LGBTQ slant. And that story is, next slide, please, Brothers. Now, Erica, I want to gauge your feelings on something, because I have here all 9 minutes of Brothers, and I wonder if it's worth showing. It's a very compact story, but I don't know if it would make sense to show the whole thing. We could stop it halfway through. What do you think?
Can't remember life before I knew you. You've been there from the start. When you're far away, you're still near me. Time after time, words that I can't say, you still hear me. You read my mind, and though it's hard to see, hidden roots run deep. Between us, there's a road that ties our hearts together. Between us, there's a road to bridge our hearts forever. Between us, between Can't remember life before I knew you. You've been there from the start. No one knows my mind like you do. No one knows my heart.
As you can tell, I really love to tell a very specific kind of story. And I really encourage you all to tell your own specific, authentic story because no one else can tell it but you. I also should mention that I have an extensive background in musical theater. So I've always wanted to explore something that felt very musical and that could incorporate dance. And this was the opportunity to do that. With that, this film as well had a tremendous amount of success on the festival circuit. And as a result, we were able to find funding for an expanded version of, oh, that's me and my grandma, of Breaking Fast, the short. But as I had mentioned, Breaking Fast, the short was the first thing I had ever written. So I had no idea what it meant to expand it into a feature, but my producing partner and I started working and we knew what we had to do. And we hoped that people would like the story that we would tell. And we were lucky enough to tell it. In the next slide, please. And here is the trailer of the feature version of Breaking Fast.
Don't let last year define who you are this year. Start new, start fresh.
You know I can't work out during Ramadan. I'm just not in the mood to be around happy people.
This is Cal.
This is Mo, my best friend. He's a doctor. Did I mention he's a single doctor?
Do not jinx this thing that isn't even a thing.
So you are interested?
I'm not saying that.
When are you gonna snap out of this horrible funk you've been in? It's been nearly a year. How often are you two breaking fast?
I don't know. Like every night?
Every night?
You mean to tell me your immigrant mother would allow you to be like this and have no opinion about it?
My immigrant mother is nothing like what you see on TV.
What I know is that a gay Arab Muslim guy in WeHo probably knows what it's like to have people make assumptions about him. You always spin things in a way that ignores what's wrong. I like you. What do you like about me?
Just be open, be honest.
I'm scared.
You deserve to be loved.
Yeah, see, isn't that such a mystery?
Go to the next slide. So as you can probably guess by this point, all of the stories that I tell because of how much I love storytelling, but I couldn't have done any of it without finding people who supported my vision and helped bring it to life. And those are all the people that you see before you here, my closest and best friends and greatest collaborators and confidants. And truly that's the whole purpose of today is hoping that you too will find the inspiration to find your tribe and find your voice. There's only one of you in this whole world, and your story deserves to be told. I thank you for this opportunity. I thank you for watching all of that material. But I'm excited to speak with you all. And if there are any questions, I'd be thrilled to answer them. Thank you so much.